Thank you. I'm Kyle Anderson, and I'm talking on expanding the SpeedBridge. So we've already heard a lot about this progression from single row to double row to not just a connected double row, but an interactive double row is the way I would consider SpeedBridge. I will say that I was one of those that really enjoyed compressing the tissue with my medial knots and then bringing the suture over to increase our surface area. And I still think there is potentially a role for suture bridge, particularly with the new wider suture tape in the anchors, and I'll point out a use of that in a minute. But this talk is about the advantages of SpeedBridge and some of the additional uses for it. But we've seen that there's this tension effect between the rows that can be beneficial. It helps us avoid over-tightening that medial row, arguably better vascularity of the repair, and of course the time-saving aspect. Probably the guy who's done as much or more than anybody clinically is Peter Millett. He showed us good results in 155 shoulders when he compared suture bridge and SpeedBridge, but actually found a lower re-tear rate and slightly better ASES scores for the SpeedBridge. He also found a high return to sport, 77% in patients over 70, and was nice enough to share with me his 5-year data where he's got as little as an 8% reoperation rate, which compares favorably to other rotator cuff repairs, especially if you include larger tears that are in that group. So let's go through just a simple, straightforward case. This is an intra-articular view of a moderate-sized tear with some delamination. Here's looking in from laterally where we see we've prepared the greater tuberosity, decent retraction of the tendon. We're going to simply place our anchors at the articular margin, which is one of the beauties of SpeedBridge. And then we've got a couple of options for passing the suture through. This is a fast pass on your right that makes it fairly simple to pass the cinched end or the fiber wire end of this through, and we can pass that together in the standard fashion. Then simply grab those sutures, assess where we want to place it, and pass our lateral anchors. So we can really get down into the 20-minute, half-hour mark for a rotator cuff repair, which is certainly desirable these days. We get this nice compression, anatomic reduction, very low profile. Very simple. What about a little bit larger tear? Maybe one that's more retracted where we get into infraspinatus a little bit. Again, same thing, simply pass our anchors. Now we've got the option of using a scorpion again, and we can get plenty medial with that, or we can go through with a penetrator and then simply feed the smaller end of the fiber tape through. I've kept them together here, so we'll pass it that way. That really lets me put it wherever I want, and one of the reasons I like to use penetrators is it lets me differentially deal with delaminated tears like you see here, where I can pull the basilar layer out and pass it through and then simply feed my stitch to my penetrator. As you see, it's not always easy to bring that fiber tape through. If you use a smaller end, it's simpler. We'll again grasp our sutures, bring it over the lateral edge, assess where we want to place that, and really the beauty of this repair is simply getting our positioning of our anchors proper and passing the suture in the proper manner, pass that swivel through again. And here, even with more retracted tears, we can get an anatomically positioned, low-profile repair done very quickly. Another great aspect of SpeedBridge is how easy one can just extend it down the back or down the front as needed by adding anchors and passing the sutures, and what makes it a nice broadening type of approach to these. So a lot of variations of this. If you have an L-shaped tear where there's some intact tissue and you want to get suture through that tissue, you can separate the limbs of the fiber tape, penetrate through, and again, just simply hand off my suture to the penetrator, bring that out, and then we'll be able to bring that over for our SpeedBridge. Or we can add an additional suture to close this down. We can do that as a free suture, or we can take the suture from the medial swivel lock and pass that through and tie it in a side-to-side manner. Or here, we'll simply grab the suture and include it in one of our lateral anchors here. Always want to be careful to pass point a little bit so that we don't over-tension. We've seen what that can do in the vascular work and the biomechanical work. As I said, I still like to use suture bridge for some roles when there's a purpose of the knot. In some cases where I've got a small L-shaped tear, I think we can use the knot here on the more mobile tissue, but then capitalize on the side-to-side aspect of it that you see back here. So I do think there is a role for that, but that can be accomplished through SpeedBridge as well. Here's yet another variation of this where I've separated the two limbs of the fiber tape and put 3 in the anterior swivel lock that you see to the right and 1 in the other to the left. Simply, that's what this particular tear called for, and looked like it laid down better in that way than with the traditional configuration. What about dog ears? Those can be addressed as well by simply passing the suture a second time through the tissue. Or once again, we can use if you keep the sutures from the swivel locks, you can use that to bring it down. But if we pass that through yet again, we can get it to lay down nicely here, coming out the tendon again, and then we can eliminate issues with dog ears, all very quickly. What about subscapularis? That may be a really well-suited use of SpeedBridge because of the difficulty with access. We thought that these tears were fairly rare originally, around 5%, but we know if you consider them with the combination of supraspinatus, maybe as high as 30%. We know that they're best diagnosed on MRI and a physical exam, where we'll sometimes see that displaced biceps on our axial cut. For chronicity or atrophy, I like to use the sagittal view to look at that muscle belly that you see on your bottom right. And I think we all struggle with this question of whether it's a significant tear or not. And Chris Adams shared with me this video of this posterior lever test, which is a great way to really get a sense of how far down that tear can go. And you can see this has been debrided already, but it certainly illustrates that these can be very significant. So I strongly recommend using that little test to see whether these are significant or not. So one last example, this is one that includes the supraspinatus and the subscapularis. You can see where it's lifted off here. We don't even need our test for that. It's very important to get these adhesions from the CA arch and the coracohumeral out of your way so that you can get maximum excursion. And if it's a really retracted tear, I clean out all the way underneath the coracoid as though it's an AC joint type of a case. And here we'll bring in our, if I'm externally rotated and looking from the side and working from the front, I can get way down here low, pass my anchors down adjacent to the intact tissue that you see there, pass our swivel, and now it just becomes a question of suture passage again. We can do that in the traditional manner as in a scorpion, which can generally reach far enough as far as how far medial we need to get. Or I like to take these in an inside-out manner on your bottom right, where I'll first grab the suture, bring it through the tissue, and bring it back. Then I can take that, again, that cinched or fiber tape end of it back out anteriorly, or if I need to just get it out of the way for a minute, I'll take it right straight back out the back portal. And now we've got some options for lateral row. We can put the lateral anchors right in the groove, and you can include your biceps with a separate fiber wire or suture tape. Or what I'll prefer to do is go with a sub-pec tenodesis and put my anchors laterally in the, right in the groove. So far, the SOS data has shown very good results and slightly superior, perhaps, to knotted subscapularis repairs in terms of the visual analog, and then functional outcome scores are looking similar, but both very good for knotted and knotless subscap repairs. So in summary, the SpeedBridge, due to its simplicity, is very versatile and extendable. We can bring in additional suture or use the suture from the medial anchors to add to this, and there's some exciting new options we've seen already. I will use suture bridge, but only if there's a purpose of that knot. And finally, I think SpeedBridge is a great option for us in terms of the tougher tears like infraspinatus and subscapularis. Thank you very much.